The most annoying thing about comic artists is there seems to be an inability to get things done. Now, I know I'm going to get a bunch of artists in the comments. I get things done or whatever. No, you don't. I'm going to tell you this right now. No, you don't. I've been in this game for a number of years. I've actually been making comics since 2012. And the amount of comic artists I've rolled through that just like could not finish a single issue, could not finish a single graphic novel, and had troubles along the way is staggering. And we're going to go into some of those in a moment and actually talk about some projects I have going right now, which I hoped to crowdfund something in 2025, and I was unable to. There were no comics I got done in 2025, despite my having 9+ graphic novels in development and having spent around $65,000 in comic art over the course of the year. And that's a painful thing as a comic creator, just not being able to get those sorts of things out. It's very difficult to keep these things going, and that's why I don't crowdfund stuff and then open it and then leave it open for years like some creators do, because like I respect my customers a lot more than that. I'd rather bear that burden myself than, of course, have that go on to you. So this is a frustrating tale of comic creators and the like, and you get to learn a lot about the projects that we have going on here because we really have beautiful comics. We are changing the game right here and building something really, really great. And I want you to get in on this so that you don't miss what we have going. Now, the best way to support us as we go forward is get on my Substack, which is, this is not my Substack. Where are we here? I'm on the wrong browser. This is my campaign for my books because we ended up not being able to. Here we go. Here's my Substack. I'm putting up free comics. Basically, these are my old comics, Flying Sparks, which was a 15-issue series. That's the first one I started in 2012, along with another one, which is a werewolf series that I've been developing over the last several years, too. And with those, like these crowdfunded wonderfully, and I had an artist who was on time for a long, long time. It's actually interesting. When it started, I started with a guy who did one issue of the series, and he had a much grittier sort of style. He wanted to do something a little darker, and I wanted a light superhero sort of story with like a romantic flair to it. So, it was just like, it was not kind of going the right way and all that, and we were kind of waiting, and we did one issue. Didn't quite work out towards what we wanted for Flying Sparks, but he did create the designs for it, which I do appreciate to this day. And good guy. Nothing, I'm not criticizing his art. It just doesn't match the project. So we had a problem with that. And I got into a different artist on issue 2 as I built it out. And then kind of issues 1 and issue 2 started as like almost separate pilot episodes, right? So each one of those is its own thing as I'm like just resetting it because I have a new artist and I had to reset the story, test him out for an issue because I wasn't going to draw out this long storyline as it's going on. And we had a problem there too. That guy just kind of was flaky, didn't turn things in on time. His quality was variable. And so there was a big problem with that. And so by the time I met Jethro Morales, who ended up being the artist, the main guy on this, I started on issue 3, and I, again, started a pilot at this point. Now, he had a track record of working for Dynamite Comics and working under Green Hornet and, of course, John Carter of Mars and the like. And so with that, I knew I could rely on him a little more, and I hoped I could. It gets kind of weird at that point. I had him go back and redraw the first 2 issues and then start issue 3. And with issue 3 going forward of Flying Sparks, that's when the plot really opens up and it builds this like long-term plot line that ends up concluding in issue 15. Now, he promised me the whole way that he would be working and he would go for it. And he actually got up through issue number 12 before we ended up having a problem. And with that issue number 12, he got a job with Marvel Comics. And once he got that job with Marvel Comics, he did not want to work with or associate with me. I actually paid him an extra issue in advance, and he disappeared, ghosted me, blocked me over the political situation that we have here. So we've had a situation where artists didn't match. We had a situation where artists couldn't get things done. We had an issue where artists blacklists over politics. And this is kind of the challenges that you start off with comics at the beginning. So I've had lots of experience with that. And of course, I know many other writers will tell you the exact same thing. And I've talked to many other writers who have had problems. And that's the frustrating things that goes on with comics. And it's a really difficult position to be a writer in comics, especially in independent comics. Artists, you can kind of draw things yourself and hopefully get things done. But writers, you're relying on other people, right? And so I have to rely on other people for the business. And that's exactly why I didn't open up a crowdfund this year and had my books crowdfund going this year. And my books, of course, are something that's, isn't a higher price point, really, because they're books. And so it ends up being something that doesn't really cover the art cost for this type of thing as it goes along. Now, I have a lot of different stuff in development, and I'm posting them on that Substack, and I'm also posting them on this Subscribestar, which is like a Patreon alternative. Those are the best places you can support. And we've had troubles throughout the year. The first thing that I started to develop was a series called Strike Force Ultima, and this is a superhero team book. You can see the high quality of art on this, and it's beautiful stuff. And we did a short to test it out again, and then I wrote a 48-page graphic novel after the short worked out pretty well, and he provided in a timely manner. Got up to about page 38 out of the 48-page longer story, gone. Don't know what happened to him, isn't around. First it started with some excuses on stuff, and then like I'm just out for money right now, and I don't know what to do. I have to like try to find an artist. If you know an artist who can match this style, please send me an email because I have to finish off this story, and I don't really want to change styles. And that's a difficult thing. Like you can kind of change colorists midway because you've got a template of colors which you can match a palette to. But for changing line art, it like everybody kind of has their own individual style. That makes it very, very difficult to do. So I'd love to, of course, if somebody's got somebody who's reliable who can finish off the last 8 pages of this, love to talk to you. I've also got a Western horror in development, which actually deals with some different work within the genre and actually has some historical things going on with the Native American tribes in Northern California and their legends that accompany it. So it's a really, really well done script. It is 1/3 done right now, and my artist on that ended up getting a job and a day job because he can't afford to do this full time, and that's that. Pretty tough on that level. So those are 2 that are in development right now. We've got a couple that are going and these are comics that I just put up on Subscribestar and Substack for readers there. This one's called Extrasensory. It's by a guy named Mark Smith, who's good, and he actually gets things done, and we're actually 3 issues done with this. And this is one that I've intended for those platforms for exclusives and not for crowdfundings. So it's a nice thing, and we're doing it as best we can on this. Good stuff. This is about a federal investigation team that investigates into psychic phenomenon and demons and things like that. It's basically the X-Files, and with some superhero kind of stuff into it, with some great characters. And actually took some Golden Age concepts with this. I've got one called the Golden Archer was who I kind of manipulated it into. But I call this guy El Arquero because he's a Hispanic guy. And then the other one is a telepath, and he's also taken from like an original concept from some Golden Age stuff that I kind of twisted around as well. And then I added in there's a detective in Flying Sparks who you'll be reading in the Flying Sparks Substack, who she then gets powers, and we explain how she gets powers in this, and she has some divination sort of abilities which help the team. Pretty fun stuff and very unique compared to a lot of stuff out there. The other one we have going as an ongoing is called Astromancer Pisces, and it's about a girl who gets involved in this like fantasy like isekai situation where she is trying to gather some warriors to fight off an ancient evil that's invading these different realms based on the zodiac. So I do this in a black and white manga style. As you can see, it's really cool. And these are the 2 things we have going and they're both ongoing as it is on these platforms. The more people support, the more we got going. So these 2 are kind of reliable, but since I've got them allocated to something else, I can't crowdfund them. That's where it's at. So we've got 2 stuck in development hell. We've got 2 ongoing that are doing pretty well, right? And so it's a 50-50 split right now, right, in terms of like what the projects are. I also have had a couple of projects which you might have seen in the past that were meant to be 4-issue series, and the artists on that have taken several years, and they're working away. They both have day jobs, and I know this. And so one of them's called Clockwork Dancer, and it's got steampunk themes and a cool tie-in to the Shroud of Turin and a bunch of lore responding with that. I like to do historical stuff, and it takes place in Victorian England in the late 1800s. So really cool on that. That's coming along, and the artist on that has been working on issue 3 for the last several years again. So this is my 5th project. We're at 3 that aren't complete, right? I have another one called AI Wars, which is actually very topical right now. This would be a great one to come out with. And we have 3 out of 4 issues done. The artist has been working on issue 4 all year, trying to get that done. And this is a 4-issue series that will conclude with this as well. So, and that's been in development since 2020 also. So that's 4 that haven't been able to get done, 2 that are kind of ongoing and unable to crowdfund out of 6. We don't have very good odds, right? So these are the projects, like I said, this is how hard we're working on stuff on here. And I just like to show, I know a lot of people ask about the projects on the videos all the time. And so I'm showing these off right here. But this is the frustration of artists. It just like is the thing. So the next thing we have going, I know a lot of people ask for a follow-up to Deus Vult. Now this is going to actually have artists in both categories. So I'll have one in the kind of delayed things categories and in that's getting done category. So the original artist for Deus Vult, of course, has a day job and everything as well, said that he could not make a living based on the funds that we raised from that. Valid. Now we paid very well, and he did very, very well on it for a first-time graphic novel. You got to build these things, and that's the thing. You got to, like, if you do well, and we did really well on that one. That was like a $30,000 campaign. It keeps selling to this day because people love that book a lot. And because of that, like I sat on it for a couple of years. Finally, I found an artist who does good fantasy work, who I've had do cover work in the past, Jeff Lastly, who's like really into the old pulps and the like. So he's got the aesthetic, got the vibe and all that to do volume 2 here. And he actually started this at the beginning of the year, and he's about to be done with it. So he's good, and he's on the. So I've got 3 artists who are reliable, 5 who have been not reliable in the situation so far. You see the tally. We're at less than 50% reliable for a business right here. Now, 1 graphic novel over the course of a year, fantastic. If we can keep that going, if this does well, we'll do a 3rd one, and then that'll go well as well. This one here is called Battle Emperor. Now, this is a reliable artist I've worked with. I did a short with him, which was a part of the Ayla Rin Hidden Empire campaign. It was tacked onto the back of that. Mike Barron actually wrote that one. It was great. I was glad to have him in the universe. And this artist worked very, very well. So we have a side project here where the Emperor is actually getting his own Gundam mech suit and going out and fighting himself to show the Imperium that he's got strength. So we got 4. So this one is almost done. I think we got like 2 pages left to draw, and that'll be ready for next year as well. Now, Ayla Rin, of course, we have a big fan base of. I know it's my best-selling property and the like, and for some reason I don't have the preview of it to show you guys, which is annoying. But Ayla Rin is book 3 is also just a couple pages from being done, and so we'll have another one in that, and this will be the 3rd volume. So of course we've done Overmind, the Hidden Emperor with that, and this will be the 3rd volume in this series, and we'll have that done sometime next year too. So if all goes well, we've got 3 crowdfund projects next year in Deus Vult, in this, and then in Ayla Rin. If I crowdfund Battle Emperor, I'm not sure yet. But the other ones are still kind of in limbo. So we've got 5 reliable artists and 5 unreliable. So out of 10 artists I've been working with in recent times, it's a 50-50 gamble. And that's a lot because these art projects cost like, a couple $100 a page to get done. So when you get a lot of this stuff building up, like I said, you end up with a backlog that ends up being very, very painful. Everybody's like, a JDA is a grifter. Rah, 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 rah. They love doing that online, which is pretty funny stuff. Because like the amount that I'm sinking into art is like way more than I'm bringing in, especially when I don't have crowdfunds going. So this is where our projects are at, and that's the most frustrating thing about artists. It's like you are gambling every single time you go out and do a comic art project that you might just not get something done. And with that, it makes it very, very hard to be a creator. And this is why it's so important to help us build and the like. And so when I talk about this stuff, this is what we got going. I've got the Substack. I want you to sign up for this in the description below, of course. And I appreciate you guys being here. This is right here. We've also got our Subscribe Star, another one you could sign up for. Either way is fine. Whatever you guys like, I appreciate you guys seeing. And I've also got, of course, an online store if you want to buy some of the old books. It always helps. And you can start reading and catching up on the series like Ayla Rin and Deus Vult, since there are going to be new installments next year. And thank you guys for reading so much. Really appreciate everybody for being here. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I hope that was interesting for you. We'll be back soon.